Okay, hello people, how are you? Long time no see. Let me check if we're live on YouTube. Let me see if it's working. I believe we're live. We're live. I'm getting feedback here. Thanks. So, is anyone there? Can you tell me if my audio is okay? If you're listening well? If the microphone is good? Just checking. Okay. So, let's start. While we don't have answers. Uh, The idea of this live stream is we do the normal recon that we're used to do every stream, but also I'm trying something different here. I would like one to for us to take a look in some bug bounty or tropes, so we can talk. We can take a look how hackers are hacking modern web applications nowadays, and we can discuss. I think it will be very productive, and I believe most of you will have an idea of how real hackers are hacking real web applications. But after that, we will start the live recon as usual. Okay? So let me just uh, post on Instagram that we're live. If you're not following us on Instagram yet, please make sure you take a look there. I'm answering your questions on Bug Bounty of the Bug Bounty for the daily there. Let me get the complete link of my Instagram and send it here in the YouTube chat. But I recommend you to follow me there. As I said, I'm answering your questions there daily. Every day, people are sending me questions and I'm answering. Okay, let me just find where I get this the URL of my profile. Here on Instagram, if anyone would like to follow me there, so we can connect more. Okay, I'm posting that we're live just for people there to come here either. And we will start our stream. Let me get the link. Okay, so let's go. What I'm trying to do here today, I have found a really good application, a really good website called bugbountyhunting.com. Let me change the screen. I'm sharing here. So this is the website I'm talking about. Here, it gives you some random bug bounty write-ups that real hackers posted here. You can also search here for example, for vulnerabilities, for bug types, and anything there. So the idea is just to start here to get a little usage to this hacking word, to take a look in some of these reports, understand how they are doing, and try to replicate further. So let me get a random report. Let me see what maybe can be interesting. Anyone wants to share a book type, anything, so that we can look together. If don't, I'll get any vulnerability here. Let's start with how I found XSS via a SSR vulnerability. Let's take a look into this report. So how this hacker found XSS via SSR vulnerability. And this is the person that reported at the name sharp. Don't know if I'm speaking his name correctly. Maybe we can take a look if we find something. Oh, there should be a really good hacker. It has its name on the Motorola Hall of Fame. Open Bug Bounty here. You can see here in Facebook. Nice. Oh, there's also a video. Let me save it here so you can watch it later. So let's understand what this hacker is doing. So after reading both articles, I believe that's something wrong here. Let me remove my internet archive here and let me see if it stops reloading. Internet archive. Okay. Now we can completely read it. So first, he has first to read these both articles. I'll be not reading, just if I think it's necessary. After reading both articles, I figured out a new way to carry out the XSS attack. Discovered that due to an outdated Jira instance, I was able to exploit the necessary vulnerability in Jira and was able to perform several actions such as bypass any firewall protection solutions and etc. Okay, so I just tried some basic tricks with Google for finding web applications which use Jira integration. So his attack did not started by just by just focusing on an application. He used the Google Docs to find applications that may be vulnerable to his attack. In this case, in this scenario, was a Jira application. So he found this one, he did this Jira panel, and tried to visit the vulnerable URL here. Okay, and then after that, he was nice. I already understood what this report is doing. Okay, so basically, what this exploit did was he found a vulnerable URL that hindered the URL you're pressing here in this parent consumer UI and reflected the content of this consumer UI in your screen. So here, for example, in this scenario, he accessed the vulnerable URL in this Jira panel and passed here the URL of google.com. And as you can see in the page, it is showing the Google page back in the time. So this allowed him to create, as he showed here, his own exploit, just a simple HTML file with his own server, and added here in the consumer URI. As you can see, the XSS vulnerability was triggered. And he found a massive amount of enterprises that this bug was present. Like as we said here in the Motorola Hall of Fame, he found it probably this bug in the Motorola. You can see it was the exact same bug. The mass.gov, a governmental site, a Cambridge University Press, Stanford University, like a lot. This is how you find the CVE, a common vulnerability exploit. I believe that probably this was already a found CVE. Mostly, yeah. I can see that is happening. This is probably a CVE that another person found, and he learned about the CVE and started applying it in his attacks. And as you can see, it worked pretty well. Let's see the video. Oh shit. It's really loud. Let me remove the music because I don't want you to have any kind of distraction and any copyright issue. Let's on full screen and change our screen here so we can understand. So basically the attack is exactly this one. He used this exploit script. This is the exploit, basically the proof of concept, as he said. It's a XSS in his own application, but because the application uses an SSRF and rendered the content of the page that he is requesting, this allowed the hacker to render the same XSS payload that he used on his application, but in the, let me jump forward here, in the, now in the Jira, the Jira of the victim company. So as you can see now, the application that's saying in the domain here is the vulnerable application, not the application of the hacker itself. But this is like a pretty old attack, a attack that I don't believe it will work anymore nowadays. It sounds like a really old application. As you can see, 7 years ago, this video. Let me see of when this report was published. 2018, so yeah, probably not something that you will find nowadays. But still, if the company you're hacking to can have an outdated version of Jira installed in his own server, maybe you can still find this vulnerability, but really unlikely. Let me see. Yeah, I can show let me see actually if I can find something newer, not some old reports like this one. If we don't find this website, I thought it was pretty cool, but if we don't find it, we can take a look into like hacker run activity or buggy crown stream. Let me see, like 2014, a CD of 2014, like last year CD. Maybe this will be a more interesting one. Let me see just if this makes sense as for a scenario. I don't want to like see something that is not really related to the web application bug bounty word. No, it's a like more a Windows hacking things, not a web application. Let me see if I can find some 2015 XSS. No, 2015. Okay. 2014. Yeah. Let me try something different. I want to talk about a vulnerability that I found myself. Maybe this will be more useful. It's like a vulnerability that I found myself in a real bug bounty program in a recent application, in a modern application, not it's some really old application as the examples I got before. So let me see. This is an interesting one. This is okay. I don't know. Maybe I can talk about this report. Yeah, I can talk. It's being disclosed, so no problem at all. So this was a bug that I found in the IKEA bug bounty program. Basically, this attack allowed an attacker to change arbitrary driver ratings. What this means? Basically, when what IKEA is, let me show first. IKEA is a Uber-like application. It's like a application that you can call for drivers. The driver comes, picks you in, and leaves you in the place that you ask. It's like it's the same thing that a Uber does, and the same thing as a InDriver does, for example. But this is a application more for bikes, I believe. So what happens here? After a trip has ended, like a partner has lived in the location that you asked, you need to rate the trip that you had. For example, you need to give a rate from 1 to 5, 1 to 5 stars. If 5 stars, if your trip was okay without any problems, 1 star if you had any problem with that driver itself. So what I discovered is that a business logic error in this application that allowed an authentication passenger to submit feedback for drivers that they had not actually reading with. So what this means? An attacker could use a could send a driver rating for a trip that he was not in. For example, passenger A has a trip with a driver, and passenger B, now the passenger B is the attacker, sent a rate of, for example, 1 or 5 to the driver that he was not reading with. So this allows, it's a really low risk, a really low risk vulnerability, but it allows an attacker or a malicious person to manipulate the ratings of the application, and like as it says here, the vulnerability could be still be abused to unfairly inflate or deflate driver scores, undermining the reliability of the platform's reputation system. So a driver that has a low score, a low reputation in the application could like use these vulnerabilities to increase his reputation. Like if he has a low rate, he can increase his rate by using this bug actually. So this was the problem. It was pretty simple to exploit it here. It was just in IDOR actually. The passenger could send a trip ID in the request that it was not his own. Like he can with this way he could exploit this IDOR. Basically, that was it. That was not something really difficult to understand, but still really fun to find. And it was a medium vulnerability. I don't remember exactly how much money it brought me, but if I get here to Baikia's page, I can see that medium is from $100 to $200. Not that much, but pretty interesting to find it. Pretty interesting to find. Oh, good. Maybe everyone could understand what the bug was about. Let me take a look in some more activity stuff here. Not only by Kia. I want to see activity in Alpha Run application. So let's to find if there is anything that we can learn here today. Okay. Your verification bypass via request change point. No, not something looking like interesting. Your verification bypass via race condition. Okay, race condition. Race condition is a vulnerability that people don't look so much. Oh, this is the informative. I don't want to read the informative reports. But yeah, race conditions may be a vulnerability that use a beginner could understand a little further, study it, and understand how you can exploit it. Most of people does not actually look for this kind of bugs like race condition or business logic, and this can be a point that you find some really good stuff that people are not looking into. Okay, IDOR. Let's see this IDOR here to understand what it looks like. Yeah, not that much information. I wish there was a way that I can filter for a report that has a full disclosure. Let me see in the filter here if I can filter for things that has a complete disclosure. Yeah, I don't believe it. A thing that I like to do a lot in my what I'm writing my reports is to use some Google Doc stuff. For example, I'm trying DuckDuckGo here, but it's not actually necessary to DuckDuckGo. You can use the same strategy with Google, but I can say, for example, search here for x-axis and cite hackerrun.com. Here, it will give me a lot of pages in HackerRun that has the result XSS here. So let me try to look for something different for SSRF, CSRF actually. I want the word report either. hack activity, maybe hack activity. So with this hack activity, oh, it's written wrong. Okay, now it's correct. So with this, you can see only results from hacker run and hacker activity page. So with this, you can take a look in some disclosed reports with the vulnerability or the word of the sentence that you're looking for. Since there are vulnerability in this application, Mars website allows attacker to change user profile picture at this other place. This is redacted. The company after a report can redact something that they don't want to disclose it. So the vulnerability was a CSRF. The identified vulnerability is SRF, vulnerability that allows an attacker to change the user profile picture. Basically, to execute this attack, you need an image that is less than 200 KB in size or slightly increase the limit. This is a pretty shit report. A really bad report. Yeah, I don't believe these reports are good for us. We're not learning anything. It seems like the good stuff is not public for us. It's not really public. Okay. Let's get back here to the XSS. History. Okay, this can be interesting. Stealing user information via XSS via parameter pollution. Let's read this report. Another medium report. Steal user information, chaining XSS, HTTP, and HTTP parameter pollution. Let's see who is the reporter. It's Hansa Evan. He has a YouTube channel with some subscribers. Okay, let's see if there is a video. Oh, it's blocked. Let me see if I can find something about this vulnerability that we can watch it together. Pollution. I don't believe he posted anything in his channel. Yeah. We have no look here today. We have any look here today. That's a shame. I believe this experiment was not what I was expecting. Maybe in the next live stream I come up prepared with some pre-selected reports that we can watch together, because these reports from the website is pretty shit. It's not that good. It's not that good. Okay. So let's jump on to our live recon part of the live stream. I believe that we can continue. We have two options. We can continue the recon of Netflix that we started before, or we can start some new recon. I believe Netflix is a good program for us continuing, because Netflix has a great scope and also a great application to attack. A really great application. Here again, this is the assets of the Netflix. We have a lot of assets here for hack to hack. We have a good bounty hinge that we can achieve if we find something, and they have a great response time. It's like 6 hours of response and 1 day and 1 hour to triage, and 19 hours from time from to bounty, from submission to bounty. This is what I usually look when I'm selecting applications to test. I like to look the response time. I don't like I don't like programs that I need to wait like a month for response or a month for a bounty. I like to look for programs that answers fast, have a good bounty range, and also a good scope for me to attack. A scope that interests me. That interests me. Okay, so this, let me get my terminal here. Let me get my recon machine. Oh. My recon machine. Okay. Here's my recon machine. Let me get my recon data. Netflix, that's something that we were looking before. So, okay. What are the subdomains that we found before? Subfinder, oops, subfinder. Nothing. Get wildcards. Oh, we're just looking for netflix.com and netflix.video. So let's try to do something different. I don't want to like focus on different applications than the main application. So let me change the wildcards here. I don't want the Netflix video. I want just the netflix.com. I'll get the subfinder and netflix.com /all, and I want it to the subs.txt file. Okay, let's wait for subfinder to run. And what I want to do is to actually enter netflix.com and take a look if we can find anything interesting. This is the application, as you can see, but how it connects with its backend in the behind the scenes. So if I get here, let me change the language of this developer here, the developer tools that is using Portuguese language. Developer tools. Picture preference, advanced settings, default color. Okay, maybe after change this language. But let's take a look. It has the microservice called logs netflix.com that is being used to store logs of an application. This is not something that I usually take a look. I'd like to take a look for APIs that stores critical functionality. For example, let me change like bug bounty with Marco. We are hackerrun.com and any password here. Okay. When I execute this request, it redirects me, it sends me my request to this GraphQL API, I believe. And this GraphQL API sends a lot of information about myself, including my user login ID with the email I passed and my password with the password I passed, any password. Okay. And the response is a normal GraphQL response. Nice. GraphQL has some interesting stuff that I can look for. Let me open my burp suite so we can start testing. Hey, hi, I'm 14 and what would you like? What would you suggest me to do to start? I've already brought some basic vulnerabilities because of Google Doc, but I don't know what to do to master bug bounty. Yeah. The thing that I tell for everyone that once you start bug bounty is that it's not that easy as it looks like in the videos. So it will take you months and months of learning and practicing it in real bug bounty applications. I don't like to like train some CTFs or VDPs, and after training VDPs and CTFs to start hacking on bug bounty applications. I like to go directly in the bug bounty because there you really find the applications that are well secured enough uh, against this kind of attacks. VDPs can be some entry point, but in most scenarios they will not have the same security that a normal application has. A Netflix, for example, has, because Netflix, when they start paying for reports in this application, means that like they already have a really good security in this application. So this is why many people start to hacking on VDPs or CTFs, but when they come to hacking applications, they find nothing. That's the reason, because it's different. It's a different attack scenario. Bug bounty applications are really more well secured than VDPs or CTFs. CTFs, especially CTF applications are developed supposed to be vulnerable. The developer that it's writing your CTF labs, he writes a lab thinking that it will be hackable. It will be easy to hack or hard to hack, but every time they think that it will be hackable. But when we're talking about real applications, they are not developing this way. They are developing thinking that its application needs to be protected, needs to be secure. So they have multiple processes, like they have automations to check for vulnerability. So if you think you're coming to bug bounty and like run some automation, run some tools like Nuclei or Sonar Cloud or tools like that, and find something, you won't. Before you run that, the company has already run these tools. Other hackers have already run these tools with their customization, and you won't find anything. You'll just get frustrated. You need to understand that you need to focus, work on your reports, work on your targets, like take a month, take 2 months before you find something in this application, but try it. I think that I did a lot when I started was to I started hunting on application like 1 or 2 days, get frustrated because I didn't find anything, and move on to the next target. I answered a question really similar to that in my Instagram today. If you're not following us on our Instagram, please follow us there, because I'm answering questions daily there. I'm sharing everything, everyone's doubt there in my histories. So if you want to some tips, some more close contact with me, you can follow me there. But this is what I was talking. You need to take your time, 1 month, 2 months before you find something. If this is what it gets. So that's it. Okay. The chat is over the. Let me use this version here. Okay, this is better because the chat is not getting in the middle of the screen, and you can look everything. So Hacker 12 said, hey, do you prefer Ubuntu or Kali Linux for Big Bounty? Which is more friendly for beginner? I believe that Kali Linux is not for bug bounty, actually. Kali Linux is the operating system that has a lot of tools, many tools that we won't use for hacking applications and bug bounty, and will just distract you. What you really need for bug bounty is a computer with access to internet, or even a mobile with access to internet. There's multiple hackers that got their first bounty with their cell phone, not even a computer. But the thing you use the most in bug bounty is a browser and a proxy. This is the thing you need. These are the both things you need. A browser can be any browser you like, and a proxy tool, any proxy you like either. There is Burp Suite, that's the most famous, but we have another options like Charles Proxy, that is a paid version. I have already used it before, and I really like it, the way that it works. Or, as I said, if you are looking for hacking using your mobile, start using your phone. You can use like Proxyman, I believe, Proxyman Android, Proxyman, here Proxyman, and with Proxyman, you can hack using your mobile. It's the same way. You open your browser, you set up your proxy, and just using your phone, you can hack some applications. And this is pretty much what you need for. You need just these two tools. The Kali Linux has like Bluetooth hacking, Wi-Fi hacking tools, like tools for exploiting Windows machines. That's things that we're not going to use for this. So I believe for me, Kali Linux is this. Kali Linux is just to protect yourself from what really matters in bug bounty. Okay. How to overcome the fear of hunting? The fear of hunting, I believe you mean the more like the fear to fail. I believe to fail looking for vulnerabilities, to fail in bug bounty. I don't know. For me, it's like what works is to persist in what I'm trying to achieve. So if your goal is to find one vulnerability, for example, you will only find your vulnerability if you start. You won't find anything if you never start. And it's better to try and fail and discover that this is not for you than like live knowing that, thinking of what maybe could happen. I reported my first vulnerability not so long ago. Like, I believe my first vulnerability was reported last year or the year before that in the ending. But I'm not that long of a hacker yet. I'm still I still have achieved like some good success in my opinion in hacking, even though I'm not the most experienced hacker, even though I'm not the like the hacker that lives just by doing bug bounty. That is more like a side gig for me, but it still for me it looks like a success. So fail bug bounty. I never start. Yeah, I believe I believe your answer is that you need to start. You won't find anything if you don't start. If you know how the vulnerabilities work, if you know the basics, like I bet probably everyone in this chat here have already did some courses about bug bounty that teaches the basics of how a XSS works or how a CSRF works, and they show that in a really good controlled scenario. This is the basic. You start there. You start doing this. You start learning how this works, how this happens. But in real world, it's a little different. That's why most of you can find that it's difficult to find bugs, because the things that they show for you in the bug bounty labs, in the bug bounty courses, is really different from the things that you see when you're hacking a real application. But this, you just get comfortable with this with experience and time. Time is the thing for all careers. Like if you want to be a developer, you need to have experience in your field. If you want to be like a cooker or a chef, you need to have this kind of experience. Just the time will make you get better. Yeah. I know the basic everything, but I never start thinking. But I never start thinking I'm not good enough. Yeah, I believe that's it. Security tech talk. You need to start. You need to test, find what works for you, and you only have the experience. You're only learning. for sure if you start doing bug bounty. There is no other way that you can get this experience. The fear that you have like to fail or to think that you're not enough, I believe is the same fear that everyone gets in every profession. That's not a exclusivity of bug bounty or of hacking or cybersecurity. But you need to understand. You need to come through this. Okay. So move on. Continue here with our application. So what I was testing now was testing the GraphQL. Okay, for GraphQL testing, I'm gonna add the Netflix scope here. I want to include subdomains. Okay, for my let's start intercepting the requests. Let me send anything here again. Let me resend this request. Okay, I can see that it's appearing here. What I like to do in my configuration is to convert always this to BAMD script, and here we can add some other parameters here. So I want to filter request and response, request methods, and I want to filter all requests that method that it's not method equals options. This way I remove all the options requests here that can be distraction for me. As you can see, this is a GraphQL API. GraphQL has a thing called introspection. GraphQL introspection basically is the way that we can search for all the schema of the database of the API of this target. But the thing is, it will probably not be enabled in production applications. But sometimes you can find a wrong configure, a wrong setup application with vulnerability with that. So what I want to start is I'll remove everything here, and I want to send a query, and this query will be, let me change here for GraphQL in verb. This will be the query, and I want to send it. Invalid query, as expected. The application is blocking this kind of introspection. And this is a pretty much new technology that especially thinking about cybersecurity, this is a really recent technology and can have multiple vulnerabilities if you know how to exploit. I saw a really good talks the other day about GraphQL. Let me know if I can find it, but it's GraphQL is the new PHP. This was a really good a really good talks, a really good tech talk about in RECON 2014. So I recommend for you to take a look there if you want to understand more about how to work with GraphQL. So let me see if I can find anything there more interesting. Let me filter just for GraphQL. Hacker12 said that RECON part feels noisy, like too much subdomain. What to look after? How do you deal with this much subdomains to find the right one? Yeah. Today I'm showing you exactly what my process is when I'm doing bug bounty. I forget about other applications and just focus on the main applications. I do some recon in the main domain to find things that can be related to my main application. Like this here had a lot of subdomains, but I don't take a look in even half, even 1% of these applications. what I like to do is to focus on the main app, because here's where the data is, here where the most information is, here's where you can find the most successful impact. You can find some outdated version here, or outdated software version here, as we saw in the bug bounty article we saw in the beginning of the live stream. But uh, companies like Netflix will not allow this to be happening, and if they allows, probably it will be already reported this kind of problems, and will be already like uh, discovered, already duplicate for another researcher. So to avoid this kind of noisy, this is what I recommend. I recommend you to focus on the main application. I know that it can be more difficult to find vulnerabilities there, but that's there where the good stuff is. Okay. GraphQL. Okay. Let me test a simple query here. Okay. Invalid syntax. Let me take a look in the query that ran before, to check if we can find for anything interesting. Type name. Let's see if we can find type name. Type name. I don't believe this will work because it's the query inside the query. The introspection is not allowed for the request. Okay, introspection is not enabled, as I said. Okay, if introspection is not enabled, maybe we can try to brute force any information disclosure here. What I like to do is to look into types, into another request. I can use my debugger here and search for query space, and let me see if we can find any other GraphQL query for us to test. Query. No GraphQL. No GraphQL at all. Oh, query introspection query. Okay. Here's the introspection query. Why it's not working for us? Let me copy the full introspection query. It's from here to here. And let's test it again. Repeater GraphQL. Well, syntax. Oh, there is a let me remove this. Let me remove all the. Let me send this to a cursor to a text editor. I'm creating another folder like string cursor dot. Okay. Let me open my text editor. Introspection. Oh shit. Query.gql. Let me check for any of this. Let me select remove. I'm going to remove this. I'm going to remove this. Remove. Okay. Now we have a complete GraphQL query, and we can try it again. Invalid query. Let me check what can be wrong from document. Okay. Graph GraphQL. Just publish. So let's try to format this query again. This is a GraphQL. It's not installed yet. Installing. Let's just wait. And let me drink some water. It's waiting too long. The query introspection is finished here. Let me just run this query. Let me see if this works. Full type and input value. I want to remove this. And I want to remove this. Bad gateway, invalid query. What is wrong in this scenario? Format. Stop format. The formatter is not working for their code formatter. Can be this one. Now it works. Okay. It's everything closed expected. This one is closing here. Type red. What is the problem with this introspection here? Maybe the server is blocking a request. What are the access control allowed here? Allow headers here. Content type, content accepted, application name. Maybe that's something that we can take a look into. Yeah, it's not anything to enable our introspection. So let's save it there so we can take a look into later. Now that we found some queries, let's find some mutations. Mutation. If there's any mutation linked here for us. Failed. Mutation. No mutations. What is a mutation? A query in GraphQL is used for retrieving data. You use queries to get data from the database. Mutations are used to execute actions in the database. For example, you can use a mutation to register a user, or a mutation to log in a user, as we can see this one here. This is not using this is not linking the mutation in the scenario because it's using an operation. An operation is a saved mutation for people for developers to reuse, so they do not have to rewrite the mutations every time they want to execute this action. You can just pass the operation name and does not need to execute the full query in this scenario. And then you pass some variables into GraphQL. The variables are always passed in the variables of the JSON. The variables are here, and if I pass anything here, for example, test 1, 2, 3, and take a look into the request, we can see that this is how Burp Suite formatted our GraphQL as a normal HTTP request. It passes the query in the query parameter and the variables in the variables parameter. That's how it works. But I like to use this other kind of view here because it makes it easier for me to understand what is happening. Okay. So there is no mutation leaking, there is no introspection enabled. Maybe I can find anything here more using the application. So let's try to use a forgot password functionality. I want to test it using an email that is not existing in the Netflix database. There's my HackerOne email, and when I click email me, no account found for this email address. But when I see in my proxy with the operations that is sending, it's sending the same operation LCCS screen update, but with the input fields, bug bounty with Marco, reCAPTCHA token, and persisted query. Persisted queries. Account not found. Yeah. Let me take a look. What happens if I try like a random email here? marconetflix.com. No account found to this email address. Again. So like John. Oh, John. Netflix.com exists. Let me see the difference in the response. Email sent title, email with the instructions on how to reset your password has been sent to johnnetflix.com. Okay, so this is the API used for executing actions. It is passing the email, the reCAPTCHA response, and the persistent query ID. These other variables here are mostly used for, I believe, maybe localization and maybe debugging for the developers. I don't know. Maybe we can take a look at it later. Server screen update. There this reCAPTCHA site key. That's a public key, not something that we're interested in. Yeah. Not as much thing that we can take a look into right now. What if I get my subs? And yeah, exactly this one. Let me run some HTTPS, the HTTPX, to take a look what is live and what is not live in the domains we found. And then we continue here, trying to understand if we can find anything interesting. This is the first phase that I always recommend everyone to follow, is to understand the application. We're not properly hacking anything here, even though because I can't hack anything in my live stream because of legal problems. But this is a phase that everyone needs to do in their bug bounty process. They need to understand how the application handles the stuff. So what have I learned right now about Netflix? I have learned that they use GraphQL for executing actions in their backend, and they are using they're using persistent queries in this GraphQL, so they're not reading their queries every time. The introspection of the GraphQL server is disabled, and it appears that we can send queries using this GraphQL. Let me check if this GraphQL server, let me copy the URL. Let me check if it allows queries in the query parameters. So HBase query plus type name, the same query that I checked before. Yeah, it is not allowing queries to be passed in the in the query parameters. If they allow that, this can be a problem, because if you can execute queries in the GraphQL in the query parameters, as I said, you can also execute mutations in GraphQL that execute actions in the database. So for example, if this was vulnerable, I could try to execute like a mutation change user password. And for example, this is a absolute fake example. But if it was allowed, we can copy the URL and publish it in the internet and send it for people that only accessing this URL, their password will be changed. So this is why I like to test here. I like to test it. I can change I can execute actions in the GraphQL using the query parameters. But this scenario, this GraphQL client is well protected against this kind of attack. Which vulnerabilities are you looking for in GraphQL? Yeah. As I said, for more detailed understanding of how you can achieve some great impact in GraphQL, I recommend you to watch the security tech talk that I showed before. But basically, GraphQL, you can find pretty much most vulnerabilities that you find on backend, on API testing. For example, you can find IDORs, as I said. Let me get here for example again. If we can execute a query that I pass an ID of an user, it sends me the data from this user, I have an IDOR, but in this scenario, in a GraphQL client. Different for a normal IDOR that we'll find like in the URL parameters, for example, in ID here, or passing it in the parameters. GraphQL, so you can find this exact type of vulnerabilities. So basically, any vulnerability that we find in the API testing, you can find in the GraphQL testing. GraphQL is like a new approach that becomes popular in recent days for APIs, REST APIs that we call in the development field. But it's similar to APIs, but it uses a different approach. It uses some different technology. That's the difference. But that's it. That's it. We are looking for any vulnerabilities that affects backends, that affects APIs, client side, server side vulnerabilities. But as I said, we're not actually looking for any vulnerability at the moment. We're just testing to understand how the application is working, how the application handles our requests. I believe this is a great part of the hacking, that we understand our target. So again, here I'm trying to understand a signing code for my domain that does not have an account. If I see the GraphQL here again, it is sending another persistent ID. Oh, where's the persistent ID? Persistent persistent query is here. Persistent query. So this persistent query is probably different from the other one that executes the recover account. No, it's exactly the same. So how this application handles which operation I'm trying to execute in this scenario? Just using the email? Probably not. Let me send this request to the comparer, and let me send this other request to the comparer. And I want to compare words. Oh shit, there it's wrong. Let me get the first request again. I want to send it to the comparer. And now I want to compare words. It's the same request that I sent it. Oh shit. No, it's not the same. Why I can't compare? Okay. Now I can compare. So when I click to compare words, I can see the difference between one request and the others. The differences are marked here in this orange part. So what are the big differences in both requests? Realme, Moneyball, Flow website sign up, and the other one is password recover input. The name is password recover input. And now, so maybe this is the place that I refer both of the operations. Funnel name. Oh, there's multiple fields that sends the difference of one operation and another. Recaptcha token will obviously be different. And let me take a look. Yeah, it appears to be the difference in some early parameters here. So here it passes some information like the name of the flow, okay. So let me check again my last request. Let me send it to the repeater so I can take a better look. Okay, and here's probably the difference in the flows. What happens if I pass any different word here? Just a moment, I'll be back soon. 1 minute. Okay. Okay, I'm back. Sorry for that. I'm back. So, what happened when I changed the flow here? And while invoking submit as a login send OTP in session invalid event. So, okay, here's where we're differing when I change some operations here. So, flow login and flow session ID. Okay, send login OTP action. It's here that it's saying the actual. This is some great stuff. Some really weird stuff actually. That I can't understand what they're doing. Landing URL. Test123. What happens when I put this test123 here? It returns for me in places. It returns in this landing URL. Okay, so I can temper some parameters. I can change some parameters and they will be reflected. Alright. Let me create an account for our example to understand what is happening. Sign in. Oh. Oh, it's really buggy my screen. Let me understand what is happening. Close some windows, open here, netflix.com. Return to netflix.com. Netflix.com is really lagging. Okay. And let me get a temp mail so we can create an account without actually blocking anything for me. Wait a minute. I mean, I'm getting an email to create my account. Wait a minute. Okay, this is my email address. finish setup. They sent me a link to my email for finishing my account. Let me get the link here. And let me get what requests were made in this. When I click it in this create account. Sign up, link registration. What does they get? Post is this one, landing URL. Where did it create an account? Here? Oh no. Here's another thing. Okay, the email didn't. It's not being sent to my account. Let me check a different approach. Oh, now I received the link. I had to click the send link button. That's the problem, that I didn't receive anything. Ha. Okay. And probably now I can see any request that is containing this email. That's weird. Nothing at all. Okay. Create our account. Copy link. This is the code that I received. This is the URL that I received in my email. When I click here, it gives me the finish sign up. Which follow the requests that were made. A log request, a sign up or download. Okay. To get requests, one post request. No request containing my code. Here's just log request. That's weird. Maybe the complete request is sent after I finish my registration. Nothing again. Maybe it is using another API that is not my scope of my burp suite. I click here, remove GraphQL from here, XRA, which is required for blah blah blah, yada. Now it is sending a request to the API. Okay. Let me see if the request is appearing in my evaluator. Not this one. Piffs. That's really weird. After all, is this path evaluator request that is sending me data? Maybe it's being sent some kind of encryption. Let me copy everything here. And put in my text editor. And then this is a JSON format document. No further. Here, okay. Here's something. Here's the code that I sent. It's being sent in this in this parameter. And okay. Here's where my data is being passed. There's some really strange requests here. There's a lot of things encrypted in Netflix. A lot of things encrypted. Maybe this was not our best target to start. because multiple things encrypted is not good. So, but I believe for today is it. I'm pretty tired. I'm trying to be more recurrent with our streams, to do it with much more frequency. And I believe that tomorrow again in the same time I'll be here again for us to continue our researching. I'll take a look if the more further if Netflix is a good it's a good target for us in the beginning, because I believe that multiple things will be really weird to understand. And as I said, take a look in my Instagram. I'm answering questions for you guys daily there, and maybe it can help you to understand how to be better in this bug bounty world. Okay, so take care and see you tomorrow.